Jemima Goldsmith, daughter of a British billionaire, has gone to live with Imran in his home city of Lahore. Her husband says his Playboy days are over.
Their whirlwind romance seemed straight out of a novel, an elegant English rose entwined with a fiercely ambitious man from the East. Yet, beneath the glamour lay a story of immense personal sacrifice, cultural dissonance, and transformation. This is the story of a British aristocrat who fell for a Muslim playboy. Jemima Goldsmith's decision to marry the charismatic Pakistani cricketer, Imran Khan, convert to Islam, and move to Pakistan sparked endless questions. Was it love, duty, or a youthful leap of faith? Did this cross-cultural love story ultimately bring her fulfillment, or did it exact a price that left her forever changed? Today, we'll answer this and take a look at their family 28 years later. Let's start from the very beginning. The first meeting and quick engagement. It was a chilly spring evening in London, in 1995, when Jemima Goldsmith first met Imran Khan. Jemima, a 21-year-old heiress born into British aristocracy, was a vision of understated elegance. Her honey blonde hair cascading over her shoulders, her laughter quick and bright. She carried with her the aura of the Goldsmith family: old money, tradition, and influence. Imran Khan, on the other hand, was a living legend in Pakistan. A former cricket captain who had led his team to World Cup glory in 1992, a charismatic figure with an Oxford education, fluent in both the language of the elite and the cadence of the streets. His reputation as a ladies' man was almost as storied as his cricketing feats, and in London society, whispers of his dalliances with aristocrats and debutantes were part of his mystique. Yet, behind the Playboy image lay a man of depth, ambitious, driven, and increasingly consumed by a vision of transforming Pakistan's political and social landscape. This fateful encounter was fated to be a historic event. When their eyes met, an unmistakable spark ignited. Imran, then 42, was captivated by Jemima's intellect, her wit that sparkled like fine crystal, and her openness that felt like a breath of fresh air in the often stifling world of high society. Jemima, for her part, was drawn in by Imran's intensity, a man who spoke of faith, charity, and justice in a way that felt both old-fashioned and radical. By their second date, Khan, with characteristic boldness, proposed marriage. To many, it seemed impulsive, almost reckless. After all, Jemima had been a teenager only 2 years prior, and here was a man more than twice her age, with a reputation for flitting from one glamorous affair to another. But for Imran, this was no fleeting whim. He was at a point in his life where he sought not just a companion, but a partner who could stand by him as he transitioned from cricketing hero to political firebrand. He saw in Jemima not just beauty, but a quiet strength, a moral compass, and perhaps a bridge to the world he sought to influence. For Jemima, in London, the tabloids erupted in a frenzy. Headlines speculated whether this was a genuine love match or a convenient alliance. Some even questioned Jemima's motives, painting her as a naive young woman swept off her feet by a silver-tongued foreigner. In Pakistan, the news was met with a mixture of admiration, suspicion, and outright disapproval. For Khan's supporters, it was a fairy tale romance, proof of his universal appeal. For critics, it was a betrayal of traditional values. Their families, too, were not immune to the tensions. Sir James Goldsmith viewed the match with skepticism, quipping that Khan might make a fine first husband for his daughter. Lady Annabel Goldsmith, Jemima's mother, seemed more supportive, though privately she may have worried whether her daughter, barely out of adolescence, was ready to navigate the cultural and political complexities of life in Pakistan. On Khan's side, there was unease as well. His sisters, protective of both family honor and tradition, voiced reservations about Jemima's suitability. Yet, in the heady rush of those first weeks, such concerns seemed distant. Marriage and early challenges. Imran Khan and Jemima Goldsmith married in May 1995, their ceremony reflecting both the grandeur of aristocratic circles and the rich traditions of Pakistan. The main event, a private, traditional nikah ceremony, was held in Paris at the luxurious Ritz Hotel. The nikah was intimate, attended by close family and a select few friends. Jemima, draped in a heavily embroidered white and gold ensemble, her head modestly covered, looked every inch the traditional bride, while Khan, in a simple white shalwar kameez, exuded quiet authority. The officiating imam recited the Quranic verses with solemnity, and when Jemima softly repeated the Arabic phrases of the marriage contract, she crossed a threshold few women from her background ever would. For Jemima, this was an active step towards embracing her new life. Imran had chosen for her the name Hakka, a name with roots in classical Arabic meaning truthful, a nod to her sincerity and the path she was about to tread. Following the religious ceremony, they held a civil ceremony in Richmond, attended by British aristocrats and celebrities, culminating in a glamorous midsummer ball at Ormley Lodge, the Goldsmith family estate. The ball, a dazzling affair under the English sun, was graced by none other than Princess Diana, who, as a close friend of Jemima, offered her support during what must have been an overwhelming time. Diana, who understood better than most the pressures of marrying into a high-profile family under intense public scrutiny, advised Jemima, "You must find your voice within the storm and never let it drown you." It was advice Jemima would come to revisit often in the years that followed. After the celebrations ended and the last of the champagne glasses were cleared, Jemima packed her life into trunks and moved to Lahore. The city greeted her with a heady mix of jasmine-scented evenings and the chaotic hum of rickshaws and street vendors. It was a stark contrast to the quiet elegance of the Goldsmith estates and the ordered rhythm of London life. She began learning Urdu, struggling at first with its grammar and unfamiliar script, but determined to communicate without relying on translators. She adopted the traditional Pakistani wardrobe, replacing her sleek Western dresses with shalwar kameezes in soft cottons and rich silks. Her new home was the sprawling Zaman Park residence, where Khan's extended family lived under one roof, a system deeply embedded in Pakistani culture, but foreign to Jemima's upbringing. Life in the Khan household was a crash course in conservative values. Imran's sisters, particularly Alima and Uzma, were gatekeepers of tradition, and Jemima often found herself navigating a maze of expectations, such as hosting family dinners, overseeing household staff, and maintaining the modesty expected of a politician's wife. Conversations around the dining table would often veer into politics, religion, and Pakistan's future. And while Jemima tried to contribute thoughtfully, her British accent and Western education sometimes felt like invisible barriers. In moments of quiet, she missed the familiarity of English tea, the gentle sarcasm of her friends, and the freedom of being able to speak her mind without fear of judgment. Jemima's transformation wasn't just external. Converting to Islam was a deeply personal step, and she immersed herself in studying the Quran and Islamic history, sometimes attending lectures at Lahore's Badshahi Mosque. Yet, despite her efforts, Pakistan's conservative circles viewed her as an outsider, a Western woman playing dress-up in a culture she could never fully understand. Meanwhile, British tabloids ran sensational headlines. "Heiress turned housewife," they jeered, painting Jemima as a lost aristocrat trapped in a gilded cage. For Khan, too, the adjustment was not without strain. His political ambitions were accelerating. He was laying the foundations for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or PTI, his political party that aimed to challenge the entrenched political elite. Jemima became an unofficial spokesperson in Western media, defending Khan's political ideals and Pakistan's image abroad. Yet, the weight of public life, the demands of family, and the scrutiny of their relationship tested their bond. Still, Jemima persisted. She once confided to a friend, I'm not just a wife here. I'm trying to be part of something bigger. And for a time, that sense of purpose, combined with her love for Imran, was enough to sustain her in the face of the challenges that came with being Hakka Khan. The birth of their first son, Sulaiman Isa Khan, in November 1996 was, naturally, a moment of deep joy. Jemima chose the name Sulaiman after the wise King Solomon of Islamic and Judeo-Christian traditions, while Isa honored the Quranic name for Jesus, reflecting the spiritual convergence she saw in her life. That same year, however, also marked a turning point in their marriage. Imran, always driven by a sense of destiny, officially launched his political party, Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or PTI, in a grand rally at Lahore's Minar-e-Pakistan. The event drew tens of thousands, their chants of Naya Pakistan or New Pakistan reverberating into the night, and Imran, standing tall against the backdrop of the monument, declared his mission to fight corruption and rebuild the country's moral fabric. Jemima, seated in the front row in a simple white shalwar kameez, clapped along, but her smile was tinged with a quiet uncertainty. She later confessed to a friend that she felt like a spectator in a play where I couldn't understand all the lines. As Imran became consumed by politics, traveling across Pakistan for rallies, fundraising events, and strategy meetings, Jemima increasingly found herself isolated. Zaman Park, once a haven, grew colder, and conversations with Imran became rare and strained. "It's as if he's married to the cause now," she would later say in a private letter to her mother, Lady Annabel Goldsmith. Despite her efforts, Jemima's presence in Pakistani political life was often viewed with suspicion. Her involvement in causes close to her heart, such as women's health and children's literacy, sometimes backfired. When she attended a rally for flood victims in Sindh, wearing a simple dupatta and minimal makeup, some columnists praised her compassion, but others accused her of political showmanship. A scathing editorial in Nawa-e-Waqt once declared, "Mrs. Khan should remember she is not a princess in her own land. Pakistan has its own daughters who deserve the spotlight." Even in social circles, she faced quiet judgment. At formal dinners, the wives of politicians would greet her with polite smiles, but whispered that she was too bold, too outspoken, too Western. Through it all, Jemima's resilience showed in small, defiant ways, such as insisting on speaking Urdu at home, accompanying Imran to campaign events in rural areas despite the heat and dust, and continuing to write articles for The Guardian that humanized Pakistan to a skeptical Western audience. She once penned a piece titled "A Country of Contradictions," in which she wrote, "Pakistan is not a failed state. It is a country wrestling with its own history, its own dreams, and its own burdens. And I, in my own way, am part of that struggle." Yet, even as she tried to bridge worlds, the gap between them widened, and the growing tensions in her marriage mirrored the growing distance between the cultures she tried so hard to reconcile. Strains on marriage and mounting controversies. By the late 1990s, the cracks in Jemima Goldsmith and Imran Khan's marriage were becoming painfully visible, not only to those close to them, but also to an entire nation watching with fascination. As Imran's political ambitions intensified, the public eye turned sharper and more invasive. In 1999, a storm erupted when a group of right-wing columnists and political commentators, notably those affiliated with religious and nationalist parties, accused Jemima of being a covert agent of a Zionist conspiracy. The allegations, though absurd on their face, gained traction in Pakistan's tense political climate. Fiery clerics in Lahore's mosques called for her Pakistani citizenship to be revoked. Jemima, who had quietly obtained her Pakistani nationality in 1998, was suddenly portrayed as an infiltrator. The irony was bitter. Here was a woman who had left her world behind, who had worn the shalwar kameez, raised her children in the Islamic faith, and immersed herself in Pakistan's causes, yet she was now branded a traitor. Adding fuel to the fire, Jemima became embroiled in a separate controversy that would test the very fabric of her marriage. In the winter of 1999, she was accused of attempting to smuggle centuries-old antique tiles from Lahore to London, an act that, if proven, would have been a violation of Pakistan's strict cultural heritage laws. The allegations, though flimsy, sparked a media frenzy. Customs officials claimed they had intercepted crates at Lahore's Allama Iqbal International Airport that included historically significant artifacts. Jemima insisted the tiles were legally purchased, decorative pieces meant for her London home, but the damage was done. Politicians from rival parties, eager to tarnish Imran's image, seized upon the scandal, framing it as an example of elite impunity. The media, already primed by the earlier Zionist allegations, portrayed her as a careless foreigner who disrespected Pakistan's heritage. Jemima, exhausted by the attacks, fled to London with her children for a time, seeking respite from the suffocating atmosphere. In a rare interview during this period, she admitted, "I feel like I'm trapped between two worlds, accused of being too Pakistani in the UK and too British in Pakistan. It's a no-win situation." Meanwhile, Imran, caught between defending his wife and pursuing his political vision, struggled to manage the fallout. His party, PTI, was still finding its footing, and internal divisions, coupled with external pressures, made his political life chaotic. At public events, supporters would shout slogans for Naya Pakistan, but there were also whispers questioning Jemima's loyalty. The tension between public and private life grew unbearable. Jemima's mental health began to suffer. She spoke of insomnia, of feeling watched everywhere, and of the loneliness that crept into her bones when Imran was away for days on end. The pressure began to show in their interactions. Where once they had shared easy banter, now there were silences. And arguments over politics, culture, and the children's upbringing. Jemima later reflected, "I married a man who belonged to the people, but in the end, I couldn't compete with a country." By the end of 1999, the relentless scrutiny, legal challenges, and growing emotional distance had carved a deep fracture into their marriage. Jemima, who had once hoped to make a home in Pakistan, began to question whether the sacrifices she had made, her identity, her comfort, her sense of belonging, had been in vain. Of course, Imran was not immune to such politically motivated attacks either. While Jemima Goldsmith bore the brunt of xenophobic accusations, Imran Khan too was not spared. Perhaps the most notorious among these was the Sitta White case, a scandal that followed him like a shadow throughout the late 1990s and into the early 2000s. The allegation that he had fathered a child, Tyrion White, out of wedlock with British heiress Sitta White was repeatedly weaponized by his critics, especially in moments when he seemed poised to gain political ground. While paternity was never legally contested in Pakistan and had no direct bearing on his political platform, the controversy was routinely dredged up in public discourse, not just to question his morality, but to undermine his political authenticity. Both Imran and Jemima were treated as proxies in a much larger battlefield where politics devoured privacy and distorted facts to suit whatever narrative was most convenient. These attacks weren't just slanders, they were calculated efforts to destabilize a political movement, rattle a marriage, and delegitimize a family trying to exist in two cultural realities at once. And both Jemima and Imran had to walk that tightrope, their reputations constantly subjected to the shifting winds of media bias, political rivalry, and public misunderstanding. Impact on children and family dynamics. By the early 2000s, Jemima and Imran's family life had become a complex web of public fascination and private strain. With their two sons, Sulaiman Isa Khan, born in November 1996, and Qasim Khan, born in April 1999, caught in the eye of the storm. These boys, who should have been simply children enjoying the carefree joys of youth, instead found themselves symbolically tethered to the tug-of-war between two vastly different worlds. The elite drawing rooms of London's Notting Hill, where their maternal relatives spoke in clipped British accents and discussed art, politics, and culture over tea, and the sprawling lawns of Zaman Park in Lahore, where their father's supporters gathered for impassioned political rallies under banners proclaiming the dream of Naya Pakistan. Jemima tried to shield her sons from the relentless glare of the media, but in a culture where family is inseparable from a public figure's identity, that proved impossible. During Eid celebrations in Lahore, photographers would capture the boys in traditional kurta pajamas, prompting commentary on whether they were being raised as proper Pakistani Muslims or simply playing dress-up for the cameras. At the same time, images of them attending events in London alongside their mother, wearing smart blazers and jeans, fed into the British media's fascination with their hybrid existence. Jemima, in a rare moment of vulnerability, once wrote in her private journal, "I want the boys to feel at home in both worlds, but some days it feels like they belong to neither." Imran's deepening political ambitions only added to the complexity. As PTI gained momentum in the early 2000s, the household atmosphere grew increasingly politicized. Jemima, meanwhile, found herself becoming more of a single parent in practice, managing the boys' schooling, health, and emotional well-being while Imran was absorbed in the political trenches. The tension between public duty and private life strained the family dynamic. Sulaiman, especially, began to sense the weight of expectations. In a school essay written at the Lyceum in Lahore, he once described his father as a hero for the country, but a stranger at home. Moreover, the cultural contradictions in their upbringing became more pronounced. While Jemima tried to instill a sense of British manners and intellectual curiosity, ensuring her boys read books beyond the usual school curriculum, such as Shakespeare, Kipling, and even Urdu poetry, there were moments when the disconnect between their two worlds was impossible to bridge. At family dinners in Lahore, relatives would remind the boys to recite their Quranic verses properly, while in London, Jemima's aristocratic friends would encourage them to engage in debate over classical philosophy and environmental activism. Jemima worried constantly about their sense of belonging, writing in a letter to her mother, Lady Annabel Goldsmith, "They are growing up in a world where they are both too Pakistani and too British, and some days I don't know how to guide them." The situation reached a critical point when Jemima began receiving threats from political opponents, including veiled warnings that her children's safety could be at risk if Imran continued to challenge the establishment. It was a terrifying reality that forced her to reconsider whether she and the boys could continue living in Pakistan. The family's once hopeful narrative of bridging cultures had soured into a cautionary tale about the price of idealism, and Jemima, despite her best efforts, began to realize that raising her children in such a turbulent environment was an impossible burden. By the time Sulaiman and Qasim were old enough to understand the controversies swirling around their family, the cracks in the marriage and the strains on the children's well-being had become too deep to ignore. For Jemima, the choice between staying in a world where her sons were pawns in a larger political game and returning to the familiarity of her own cultural roots was no longer just about her marriage. It was about their survival. The couple officially divorced in June 2004 after 9 years of marriage. The couple separated amicably, and both cited difficulty in adapting to the political life in Pakistan as the key reason. Despite the end of their marriage, they remained on good terms, with Jemima continuing to publicly support Imran Khan's political career achievements, and contributions. Far beyond the socialite image that once followed her, Jemima has meticulously crafted a legacy rooted in cultural bridge building and fearless exploration of difficult subjects. Her journey into the world of film and television began in earnest with the founding of Instinct Productions in 2015, a company that quickly earned a reputation for producing hard-hitting documentaries and compelling narrative films with a focus on social justice and political transparency. Among her notable achievements, Jemima's work on the Clinton affair stands out not only for its journalistic rigor, but for the nuanced way it revisited a scandal that had long been oversimplified by mainstream media. The four-part documentary series, aired on A&E, earned Jemima an Emmy nomination in 2018. This success was soon followed by her involvement in the gripping and heartbreaking Sky Atlantic and HBO documentary on Adnan Syed, whose case had captivated audiences worldwide following the popularity of Serial, the groundbreaking podcast. The documentary's exploration of justice and memory was hailed for its balanced perspective, earning Jemima another Emmy. Her work extended beyond documentaries, with her role as a producer on the Golden Globe and Emmy-nominated series Impeachment: American Crime Story in 2021. This high-profile series, which delved into the scandal surrounding Monica Lewinsky and President Bill Clinton, showcased Jemima's ability to blend dramatic storytelling with historical accuracy, highlighting her versatile talent in both factual and scripted content. Yet, it was with What's Love Got to Do with It?, a romantic comedy released in 2022, that Jemima demonstrated her range by producing a film that was both critically acclaimed and commercially successful. The movie's sharp yet heartfelt script, along with its refreshing take on cultural identity and romance, won the Best Comedy Award at the Rome Film Festival in 2022 and went on to sweep 4 awards at the 2023 National Film Awards. Jemima's dedication to highlighting social issues is further evident in her production of As Far as They Run, a poignant documentary short that received an Emmy nomination for its sensitive portrayal of children with intellectual disabilities living in rural Pakistan. Jemima also ventured into the burgeoning world of podcasting with A Muslim and a Jew Go There, a series launched in the late 2010s that quickly gained critical acclaim. The podcast's premise, two friends from different faith backgrounds engaging in candid, respectful, and often deeply personal conversations about religion, politics, and identity, resonated with audiences craving nuanced dialogue in an increasingly polarized world. The British Podcast Awards recognized the show with a nomination in the News and Current Affairs category, a testament to its impact and relevance. Continuing this momentum, the podcast's 2024 season received praise for maintaining civility and thought-provoking content, marking it as a rare example of earnest, intelligent discourse in the digital media landscape. Jemima Khan has also forayed into journalism and editorial work. During her years living in Pakistan and navigating the often complex intersections of culture, politics, and identity, she became a prominent voice in major UK publications, lending her nuanced perspective to The Sunday Times, The Observer, and The Independent. One of the defining moments in Jemima's journalism career came in 2008, when she secured an exclusive interview with then-President Pervez Musharraf. She challenged Musharraf directly on issues such as governance, terrorism, and civil rights, drawing out candid responses that shed light on the complexities of his regime. Between 2007 and 2008, Jemima served as a columnist for the Sunday Telegraph, where her voice carried significant weight in shaping public discourse on Pakistan and South Asia. Her columns during this time often explored the geopolitical shifts post-9/11, the rise of extremism, and the ongoing struggle for women's rights in Pakistan. In 2008, she expanded her editorial scope by joining British Vogue as a contributing editor, a role she held until 2011. There, Jemima's influence transcended politics into the realm of culture and fashion, where she used the platform to advocate for causes such as women's empowerment, education, and humanitarian aid. Her editorial career reached a new height in 2011 when she became the European editor-at-large for Vanity Fair. This prestigious role allowed Jemima to contribute in-depth profiles, investigative pieces, and cultural commentary to one of the most influential magazines worldwide. Perhaps one of the most telling endorsements of Jemima's editorial prowess came from Nick Cohen, a respected British journalist and commentator who praised her tenure at the New Statesman Journal, where she also held an editorial role. Cohen called her the Observer's best editor during that period, highlighting her editorial vision and ability to nurture impactful journalism. But that's not all. Jemima Khan's commitment to philanthropy and activism has been a defining aspect of her life. Back in 1998, when she was still married to Imran Khan, driven by a desire to create tangible opportunities for Pakistani women, she launched a unique fashion house that married the rich traditions of Eastern embroidery with contemporary Western design aesthetics. Jemima's goal was to employ impoverished women from Lahore's underprivileged neighborhoods, providing them with a steady income and a platform to showcase their exquisite craftsmanship to an international audience. The enterprise, based in a modest workshop in Gulberg, became a symbol of cross-cultural collaboration and social enterprise, with every garment carefully handcrafted to preserve centuries-old techniques. Importantly, proceeds from the fashion house were directed to support the Shaukat Khanum Memorial Cancer Hospital in Lahore, a pioneering institution founded by her then-husband, Imran Khan. This hospital was Pakistan's first comprehensive cancer treatment facility, offering free care to thousands of patients, and Jemima's initiative helped sustain its vital work. However, the peaceful momentum of this project was abruptly disrupted when geopolitical tensions escalated and Pakistan faced widespread instability. The ensuing turmoil made it increasingly difficult to maintain the fashion house's operations, forcing its closure. But Jemima's early efforts left a lasting legacy in social entrepreneurship in Pakistan. Beyond this early venture, Jemima continued to leverage her visibility and creativity for charitable causes. In 2009, she modeled for the prestigious Azaro Couture and was invited to co-design their spring collection. The proceeds from the collection were donated to UNICEF. During her marriage to Imran Khan, she also co-founded a refugee camp dedicated to Afghan refugees fleeing decades of conflict and instability. Located near the Pakistan-Afghanistan border, the camp offered shelter, education, and basic health care to thousands of displaced families. She frequently visited the camp, listened to the refugees' stories, and worked closely with international NGOs to secure funding and supplies. Politically, Jemima emerged as a vocal critic of Western military interventions in the Middle East, particularly the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. In 2003, at a notable anti-war rally in London's Trafalgar Square, Jemima addressed thousands of protesters, stating, "True peace cannot be achieved through bombs and occupation. It demands understanding, justice, and respect for human dignity." Additionally, Jemima was a staunch supporter of freedom of information movements, championing transparency and accountability in governance. She lent her voice to campaigns against censorship and for greater press freedom in Pakistan and beyond. Recognizing the power of an informed public in holding leaders accountable, Jemima collaborated with organizations promoting independent journalism and internet freedom. In interviews, she often spoke about the importance of breaking down barriers to information, noting, "Without the free flow of ideas and facts, democracy cannot thrive, and societies remain shackled by ignorance." How is the couple now? Today, Imran Khan and Jemima Goldsmith maintain a cordial, respectful relationship, far removed from the romantic turbulence and media storms of their past. Despite their divorce in 2004, they have consistently spoken kindly of each other in public. Jemima, especially, has remained vocal in her defense of Imran on several occasions, including during politically motivated controversies or legal challenges in Pakistan. Their mutual priority has always been their two sons, Sulaiman and Qasim, whom Jemima raised primarily in the UK, but ensured remained connected to their Pakistani heritage. Imran, meanwhile, continued his political ascent, eventually becoming Prime Minister of Pakistan in 2018, while Jemima focused on her creative and philanthropic pursuits. Though they live separate lives on different continents, their shared history still links them, especially through their children. Khan served a term of 3.5 years before being dismissed through a vote of no confidence by his opponents, who courted his political allies. Following this, he was charged with hundreds of bogus charges and jailed. Through it all, Jemima has spoken of their marriage with a tone that blends wistfulness with clarity, acknowledging both the depth of their connection and the reasons it couldn't last. She has described Imran as a brilliant man, but admitted the loneliness and public pressure of life in Pakistan were too great a cost for her long-term happiness. Imran, on his part, has credited her often for the sacrifices she made and the grace with which she navigated an unfamiliar world. It was a romance not meant to be, but its effects linger on even today. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Did you like this video? If you did, please consider liking, dropping a comment, and hitting the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on our new uploads. Also, don't miss this video you see on your screen right now. It's truly unbelievable.